My beloved child. Something happened last night. Something you weren't supposed to know about. While you were sleeping, while you were dreaming of ordinary things, a transaction was made. A purchase. A very specific purchase. A diamond ring. And here's what will shake you to your core. The receipt exists. It's real. There's a name written on it. The store employee remembers the person clearly. The way they smiled. The way they hesitated before signing. The way they said your name when they handed over the payment. Your name. Not a nickname. Not a guess. Your full name. But that's not even the strangest part. The strangest part is that you have no idea who this person is. Or maybe you do. Maybe you've walked past them 100 times. Maybe you've exchanged words with them in a coffee shop, at work, in a dream you forgot the moment you woke up. Maybe they've been there all along. Watching. Waiting. Quietly preparing. And now, this ring is on its way somewhere. To someone. To you. But the name on the receipt? That's the part that will change everything. You think you know who loves you. You think you see the full picture. But there's someone in your life who has been hiding something. Not something bad. Something deep. Something that took years to build. Something that started the moment they first heard your voice. Stay with me. Because what I'm about to tell you will not make sense at first. It will feel impossible. It will feel like a story meant for someone else. But it's not. It's yours. This is your story. And the person who bought that ring? They've been asking about you. Not in a creepy way. In a way that comes from a place you never expected. They've been studying you. Learning your favorite flowers. Your morning routines. The way you tilt your head when you're confused. The song you hum when you think no one is listening. They know more about you than your closest friends. More than your family. More than you know about yourself. And they've been planning this for a very long time. Longer than you've been aware of their existence. Longer than you've been looking for love. Longer than you've been wondering if anyone would ever choose you. But here's the thing you need to understand. This person isn't perfect. They have flaws. They've made mistakes. They've hurt people without meaning to. They've been through storms that almost broke them. But through all of it, you were the thought that kept them going. You were the hope that didn't fade. You were the image they saw when everything else was falling apart. The night they bought that ring. They almost didn't go through with it. They stood outside the store for an hour. Their hands were shaking. Their heart was pounding. They kept checking their phone, hoping for a sign, a message, something that would tell them this was right. But nothing came. So they walked in anyway. Because something deeper than logic told them to. Something that felt like destiny. Something that felt like you. The salesperson asked them who the ring was for. And they said your name with such tenderness that the salesperson actually paused. Actually blinked back tears. And then they wrote it down. Your name. On a receipt. In a store you've never been to. And now that receipt is sitting somewhere. Waiting. Holding a secret that will rewrite everything you thought you knew about your life. But who is this person? You've been asking yourself that since the first sentence, haven't you? You've been scanning your memory, trying to find a face that fits. An ex who never really let go? A friend who's always been a little too kind? A stranger who smiled at you in a way that felt different? Maybe. Maybe not. The truth is even stranger. The name on that receipt is someone you've thought about but never fully noticed. Someone who has been orbiting your life without ever landing. Someone whose heart has been beating in rhythm with yours, but you never turned around to see who was there. They've been sending you signs. Little ones. A text that came at exactly the right moment. A coincidence that felt too perfect. A dream where someone held your hand and you couldn't see their face. That wasn't random. That was preparation. That was them. Quietly weaving themselves into your story. Hoping that one day, you'd finally ask yourself. Who has been showing up for me without expecting anything in return? Who has been seeing the real me? Who has been carrying this love all this time without ever needing me to say it back? Let me tell you something. This ring? It's not just a piece of jewelry. It's a symbol. A symbol of every moment they chose you, even when you didn't know. A symbol of every time they defended you in rooms you weren't in. A symbol of every tear they wiped away when they thought about how much they wanted to be with you. This is not a casual purchase. This is not a whim. This is a declaration. And when the receipt was signed, something shifted in the universe. The air changed. The energy between you and them became impossible to ignore. If you're paying attention, you've already noticed it. That strange feeling that something big is about to happen. That sense of anticipation that lingers at the back of your mind. That dream that felt too real to be just a dream. That moment when you thought about someone and then your phone buzzed. That wasn't random either. That was the connection. That was the thread pulling you closer to the moment when you'll finally see. But let me tell you what really happened the night the ring was purchased. It was late. The street was quiet. Rain was falling just lightly enough to feel like the world was cleansing itself. The person walked into that store with no guarantee that you would ever say yes. No guarantee that you would even speak to them again. No guarantee that this wouldn't end in heartbreak. And they bought it anyway. Because love isn't safe. Love isn't comfortable. Love is the most terrifying risk a person can take. And they took it. For you. The clerk asked if they wanted to include a note. And they said yes. But they didn't write a note. They wrote something else. Something the clerk was not supposed to see. But the clerk saw it anyway. And it shook them. Because it was your name. But it wasn't just your name. It was your full name. Middle name included. The name that only your mother calls you. The name you don't tell people. The name that is almost secret. But they knew it. And that's when the clerk realized this wasn't just a random act. This was something planned. Something intended. Something that had been moving toward this moment for a very long time. Now here's where it gets even deeper. The person who bought this ring isn't the person you expect. Not at all. You're probably thinking of someone obvious. Someone who makes sense. Someone who fits into the story you've already written in your mind. But the person on that receipt? They don't fit. They're not supposed to be here. They're the last person you would ever look at and think, they're the one. And that's exactly why it's them. Because life doesn't give you what you expect. It gives you what you need. And right now, you need someone who sees you in a way no one else does. Someone who isn't trying to save you or change you or fix you. Someone who simply adores you. Exactly as you are. Broken pieces included. Messy mornings included. Bad days included. All of it. They know it all. And they still bought the ring. So the question is, what are you going to do when the receipt finds you? Because it will. It's already moving toward you. Through someone you trust. Through a situation you can't predict. Through a door that will open at exactly the right time. And when you see that name written in ink on that piece of paper, everything will make sense. And also, nothing will make sense. Because the truth is bigger than you imagined. More complex. More beautiful. More terrifying. And more loving than you've ever allowed yourself to believe was possible. But wait. There's something else you need to know. Something the clerk noticed after the buyer left. Something that changes everything. Are you ready? The clerk went to file the receipt. And realized there was a second ring purchased. The same day. The same time. But from a different department. A matching set. 2 rings. Not 1. 2. And the name on that second receipt? It wasn't yours. It was someone else's. Someone you know. Someone who has been watching the person who bought your ring. A triangle. A love story that started long before you ever knew. And the second ring? It changes the entire meaning of the first. Because now, you're not the only one being chosen. You're not the only one who's about to have their world turned upside down. Someone else is coming into the picture. And they have a receipt too. With your name on it. But in a different way. One final truth before you go. The name that shocked you? It's not the name on the first receipt. It's the name on the second. And you're not going to believe who it is. But you will. When you see it. When you hold it. When you finally understand what's been happening behind your back this whole time. This is not over. This is just the beginning. The next part will reveal why the second ring exists. And why the first ring was never really meant for you. Not the way you thought. You'll understand soon. Stay close. Because the truth is about to become completely undeniable. And when it does, you'll finally know what has always been yours. Even when you didn't know you were waiting for it. You're still here. Good. Because what I'm about to tell you next will test everything you just heard. That second receipt. The matching ring. The name that wasn't yours. Let me take you back to that night. The rain had stopped by the time the second purchase was made. Different clerk. Different counter. Same store. Same hour. But this time, the energy was different. The person who bought that second ring wasn't nervous. They weren't trembling. They weren't second-guessing. They walked in with a certainty that made the clerk step back. They knew exactly what they wanted. Exactly who they were buying for. And exactly why. But here's what the clerk didn't know. The two buyers? They knew each other. They had spoken earlier that day. They had argued. They had cried. They had made a pact. A promise. A promise that would change the lives of 3 people forever. And the second ring? It was never meant to be a gift. It was meant to be a message. A warning. A final truth that the first buyer was too afraid to tell you themselves. You see, the person who bought your ring. They've been carrying a secret. A heavy one. One that has kept them awake at night for years. And the second buyer? They're the one person who knows that secret. The one person who has been protecting you from it. The one person who has been standing in the shadows, making sure you never got hurt. Until now. Until the ring. Because the ring changes everything. It forces the secret out into the light. And that secret? It has a name. A face. A history. A history with you. You've met this person before. You've shared meals with them. You've laughed with them. You've trusted them. You've told them things you've never told anyone. And they've been lying to you. Not out of malice. Out of love. Out of fear. Out of a desperate need to keep you safe. But now, the ring has forced their hand. And the second receipt is the key. Because the name written on it? It's the person you trusted most. It's the person who has been closest to you. It's the person who has been quietly dismantling your life. Not to destroy you. To rebuild you. To prepare you for something you never saw coming. Let me explain. The first buyer, the one who bought your ring, they've been in love with you for years. But they couldn't act on it. Because of the second buyer. Because of a promise. Because of a debt. Because of a night that changed everything between them. And now, the second buyer is stepping in. Not to take you away. To give you the truth. The truth about why the first buyer waited so long. The truth about why they never told you how they felt. The truth about the role you played in their lives before you even knew they existed. You see, there's a connection between the two buyers. A history that predates you. A bond that was forged in fire and pain and loss. And you? You were the unexpected variable. The one thing neither of them planned for. The one thing that made them both change their minds about what they wanted. The first buyer wants to give you the ring. The second buyer wants to protect you from the ring. Because the ring comes with a cost. A price. A sacrifice. And the second buyer is willing to pay that price themselves. But here's the twist you didn't expect. The second buyer didn't buy the matching ring for themselves. They bought it for you too. They bought it to give you a choice. A choice between two futures. Two paths. Two people. And the name on that second receipt? It's not the name of the buyer. It's your name again. But written differently. Written with an emotion that the first receipt didn't capture. Written with an urgency that the first clerk didn't feel. Because the second buyer knows something you don't. Something about the first buyer's past. Something about a promise that was made before you were even born. A promise that involves your family. Your history. Your bloodline. This isn't just about love anymore. This is about destiny. This is about a story that began long before you took your first breath. A story about two families. Two tragedies. Two people who were always meant to find you. And now, the receipts have surfaced. And the truth is about to become unavoidable. But wait. The second buyer didn't stop there. After buying the matching ring, they made a phone call. A call to someone you trust. Someone who has been guiding you behind the scenes. Someone who knew all of this was coming. And that person? They've been keeping a journal. A journal about you. Every moment. Every milestone. Every tear. Every victory. They've been documenting your life since the day you were born. Because they knew this day would come. They knew that someone would eventually buy you a ring. They knew that someone would eventually step forward. And they knew that someone would eventually try to stop it. The second buyer? They're not the enemy. They never were. They're the guardian. The protector. The one who has been standing guard over your heart. And now, they're holding that receipt. Holding that matching ring. Holding the truth that will set you free. But here's the thing about the truth. It doesn't always feel good at first. Sometimes it feels like a betrayal. Sometimes it feels like a loss. Sometimes it feels like everything you thought you knew was a lie. And some of it is. Some of it was. Some of it had to be. Because you weren't ready. But now you are. Now you're ready to see the full picture. Now you're ready to understand why both rings exist. Now you're ready to choose. Yes. Choose. Because you have a choice. You always have a choice. And the person who bought that first ring? They want you to choose them. But they also want you to know the truth before you do. And that truth? It's sitting in a small box. In a drawer. In a room. In a house you've never been to. Waiting for you to open it. Waiting for you to see. Waiting for you to realize that the name on the receipt isn't the end. It's the beginning. And the second receipt? It holds the key to understanding the first. Because the matching rings? They're not meant to be separate. They're meant to be together. Just like the two people who bought them. And just like you. You're the bridge between them. The reason they came together. The reason they made that pact. The reason they're both here, standing in the wings, waiting for you to notice. One more thing before we move deeper. The clerk who processed the second receipt? They recognized the buyer. They'd seen them before. Not in the store. In a photograph. A photograph that hangs in a hallway. A photograph of a wedding that never happened. A wedding that was interrupted. A wedding that ended in tears. A wedding that involved your parents. Yes. Your parents. That's the part you never saw coming. The second buyer? They were at that wedding. They were young. They were heartbroken. They made a promise that night. A promise to watch over the child of the bride. A promise to make sure that child never experienced the same loss. That child was you. And now, that promise is coming full circle. The second buyer bought that ring to remind you that you are loved. Loved by someone who has been there all along. Someone who never left. Someone who has been waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves. And that moment? It's almost here. The next part will reveal the connection between the second buyer and your family. The secret they've been keeping. And why both rings are necessary for you to finally understand your true worth. But for now, sit with this. Let it sink in. Let it reshape what you thought you knew. Because the biggest truth is still hidden. And it's about to find you. You asked for more. So here it is. The part that changes everything. The interrupted wedding. Let me take you there. It was a spring afternoon. Flowers everywhere. White roses. Your mother's favorite. She looked like she was floating. Her dress was simple but elegant. Her smile was so wide it seemed to light up the entire church. And your father? He was already crying before she even walked down the aisle. It was supposed to be perfect. It was supposed to be the beginning of a beautiful story. But something happened. Something that no one saw coming. Something that would shape your entire life without you ever knowing. The wedding was interrupted by a phone call. A phone call that changed everything. Your mother answered it. Her face went pale. Her hands started shaking. And then she ran. She ran out of that church. Left your father standing at the altar. Left everyone confused. Left you. You were just a baby. You don't remember any of this. But the second buyer remembers. They were there. They were young. They were the one who made that phone call. Because they had to. Because the news couldn't wait. Because someone had to protect your mother from a truth that was about to destroy her. And that truth? It involved the first buyer. The person who bought your ring. The person who has been in love with you all these years. They were connected to the wedding too. But not as a guest. As something else. Something darker. Something that your mother had been running from her entire life. You see, the first buyer's family and your mother's family shared a history. A history of secrets. A history of betrayal. A history of love that was forbidden. And on that wedding day, the secret finally caught up with them. The phone call revealed that the first buyer's father had done something unforgivable. Something that involved your mother. Something that involved you. And your mother ran to protect you. She ran to keep you safe from a family that had already caused so much pain. But here's the part that will shock you. The first buyer? They were just a child back then. They had no idea what their father had done. They had no idea.